December 3rd, 1965. A modest brick house on South Normandy Avenue, Chicago. Murray Llewellyn Humphreys lies dead in his bedroom. Age 66. The medical examiner will rule it a heart attack, acute coronary thrombosis, natural causes. The timing is remarkable. Federal investigators have spent months building a massive case against outfit figures for union racketeering and pension fund manipulation. Humphreys is a primary target. Within weeks, indictments are expected, but he dies before they can arrest him. No dramatic raid, no final confrontation. Just a man with documented heart problems who succumbs to the stress of decades in organized crime and the pressure of looming prosecution. The newspapers barely notice. A few paragraphs in the Chicago Tribune identifying him as a reputed organized crime figure. No front-page headlines. No extensive obituaries. Most Americans have never heard his name. Yet this man, lying still in a middle-class Chicago house, built the blueprint that transformed street thugs into corporate criminals, that turned Chicago's political machine into organized crime's greatest asset, that spread corruption from City Hall to Las Vegas to union headquarters across the nation. Not Al Capone, not Sam Giancana, not Tony Accardo, Murray Humphreys, the man who taught the outfit that the real power isn't in who you can kill, it's in who you can buy. 1899, the near west side of Chicago, a neighborhood where poverty breathes through the walls of overcrowded tenements, where 8 families share a single bathroom and children sleep 3 to a bed. Llewellyn Morris Humphreys, he won't become Murray until later, is born to Welsh immigrants who came to America chasing a dream that died somewhere in transit. His father works the stockyards when he can find work at all. The smell of lye soap and animal blood defines his childhood. The neighborhood is a catalog of desperation. Pickpockets work the streetcar stops. Confidence men run shell games on corners. Young thieves break into shops after dark, not for jewelry or cash registers, but for bread and coal. Humphreys is small, sharp-featured, with eyes that never stop calculating. He's intelligent but shows little interest in formal education. What he learns on the streets. Which beat cops take payoffs and which don't. Which store owners keep their cash in the register versus the safe. Which lawyers show up to bail out street criminals at 3 a.m. His criminal career begins early. Petty theft, burglary, small-time cons. He's not a fighter, not violent. He prefers thinking crimes, schemes, fraud, manipulations that require planning rather than muscle. Time in juvenile facilities teaches him a crucial lesson. The criminal justice system isn't broken. It's for sale. He sees certain inmates walk out after a single phone call while others rot for years. He observes the hierarchies, the deals, the way money moves through the system. He comes out with a principle that will define his entire criminal career. Violence is for amateurs. Real criminals use leverage. By the late 1910s, Humphreys is building a reputation as something unusual, a criminal who thinks. He runs cons and schemes, nothing violent, nothing that draws excessive attention. Forged checks, insurance fraud, operations that require preparation, patience, and the ability to talk his way through locked doors. Chicago in these years is a laboratory of corruption. The city's political machines, both Republican and Democratic, operate on a simple principle. Everything has a price. Judgeships, police promotions, business licenses, building permits. The machine isn't hiding corruption. It's institutionalized it. Humphrey studies this system obsessively. He befriends precinct captains, observes ward offices, learns the names of every bagman and fixer in the city. He's not interested in being a thug. He's interested in understanding the system that protects thugs. Then January 17th, 1920 arrives, and everything changes. The Volstead Act goes into effect. Alcohol, manufacture, sale, transport becomes illegal nationwide. Within 24 hours, Chicago transforms into the most lucrative criminal marketplace in American history. The early 1920s. Chicago's bootlegging operations explode. Johnny Torrio, a Brooklyn transplant, organizes the chaos with methodical precision. Working for him is a young enforcer recently arrived from New York, Alphonse Capone. Humphreys enters this world not as muscle, but as a problem solver. Historical records show he became associated with the Torrio Capone organization during the early Prohibition years, valued for his ability to handle operations that required finesse rather than force. His talents are specific, delivering payoffs to police commanders, negotiating with rival bootleggers over territory disputes, setting up shell companies to purchase legal industrial alcohol for redistilling, managing relationships with corrupt officials. Johnny Torrio recognizes Humphreys' value. Unlike most criminals who rely on intimidation, Humphreys prefers patience. Identify leverage points, find weaknesses, apply pressure gradually until the target doesn't realize they've surrendered. By the mid-1920s, Humphreys is managing several operations simultaneously. He cultivates relationships with corrupt police across multiple districts, ensuring raids are tipped off before they happen. He negotiates with labor unions, particularly the Teamsters, to ensure smooth operations for bootlegging trucks. He establishes networks of legitimate businesses that serve as fronts for illegal operations and money laundering. But most importantly, he's building the foundation for what will become his greatest innovation: political corruption as infrastructure. November 1924. Johnny Torrio narrowly survives an assassination attempt by the North Side Gang. Multiple gunshot wounds. He survives, but the experience changes him. When he recovers, he makes a decision that reshapes Chicago's underworld. He retires, handing the entire operation to Al Capone. Capone is young, confident, and believes his reputation is his greatest asset. He wants the world to know who runs Chicago. He opens the Hawthorne Inn as his headquarters in Cicero. He attends operas and boxing matches. He gives interviews to reporters. He becomes America's most famous gangster. Humphreys, meanwhile, remains in the shadows, handling the operations that require discretion: political payoffs, union negotiations, judicial corruption. February 14th, 1929, 2122 North Clark Street, a garage on Chicago's North Side. 7 men associated with George Bugs Moran's North Side Gang are murdered in what becomes known as the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Men dressed as police officers enter the garage. Thompson submachine guns. 70 rounds, 7 dead. The killers escape. No one is ever convicted, but everyone knows who ordered it: Al Capone. And everyone, including Capone, learns the cost of that knowledge. Federal investigators descend on Chicago. Treasury agents build a tax evasion case. The press turns Capone from folk hero to public enemy. President Hoover makes destroying Capone a personal priority. The massacre demonstrates what Humphreys already understood. Violence attracts attention. Attention attracts law enforcement, and law enforcement eventually wins. Capone's empire, built on reputation and fear, is already dying. October 1931. Federal Court, Chicago. Al Capone is convicted of tax evasion and sentenced to 11 years in federal prison. The outfit, Capone's organization, faces a leadership crisis. But the organizational structure survives because it was built to function without a single dominant personality. 3 men emerge to run the outfit: Paul, the waiter; Rika, a strategic genius who understands that organized crime is a business; Tony Accardo, an enforcer who's smart enough to know when not to use violence, and Murray Humphreys, who will spend the next 30-plus years building the infrastructure that makes both of them possible. No formal titles, no public declarations, just a quiet understanding. Rika handles overall strategy, Accardo handles discipline and enforcement. Humphreys handles everything that requires finesse, which means corruption, political influence, and labor racketeering. Humphreys is 32 years old. He's about to transform American organized crime. The 1930s, the Great Depression devastates Chicago. Unemployment tops 30%. Factories close, banks fail, breadlines stretch for blocks. But the outfit isn't struggling. While legitimate businesses collapse, illegal gambling, labor racketeering, and other operations thrive. Humphreys sees the Depression as opportunity. Desperate people are cheaper to corrupt. Struggling businesses are easier to infiltrate. Politicians facing empty campaign coffers become more flexible about their principles. He begins with the judicial system. Chicago's courts in the 1930s operate on patronage. Judges are elected, which means they need campaign funds, which means they need political sponsors. Humphreys doesn't offer crude bribes. He offers services, campaign support, printing services, volunteer workers, anonymous donations channeled through multiple legitimate-seeming sources. The judge wins, remembers who helped. And when an outfit case appears on their docket, procedural reasons for dismissal emerge, or sentences are remarkably light, or continuances drag on until witnesses forget or disappear. By the mid-1930s, Humphreys has compromised elements of the Cook County court system. Not every judge. He doesn't need every judge, just enough that the outfit can reliably game the system. But the real power lies in the political machine itself. Chicago's Democratic machine, increasingly controlled by Mayor Ed Kelly and Democratic boss Pat Nash during the 1930s and 1940s, is one of the most effective vote manufacturing operations in American history. It delivers elections with mathematical precision by controlling patronage jobs, city contracts, building permits, and police protection. Humphreys doesn't try to take over the machine. He embeds the outfit into it, making organized crime indispensable to the machine's functioning. The outfit controls several labor unions. When the machine needs a show of strength, a massive political rally, a get-out-the-vote operation, union members show up. When machine politicians need campaign funds, money flows through multiple layers that appear legitimate. When machine-backed candidates need help with vote counting, operatives who understand electoral manipulation provide assistance. In exchange, the machine provides protection. Police commanders look the other way during outfit operations. Building inspectors ignore code violations at outfit-owned businesses. Prosecutors mysteriously lose evidence before trials. It's not bribery in the crude sense, it's symbiosis. The machine and the outfit need each other, and Humphreys is the architect who makes the relationship work. But Humphreys' greatest innovation comes in understanding organized labor. The 1935 National Labor Relations Act transforms American unions, giving them unprecedented power to organize, strike, and negotiate. Union membership explodes. Humphreys recognizes the opportunity immediately. Control the union, control the industry. He focuses particularly on the Teamsters, especially Chicago Teamsters Local 777, which represents drivers and warehouse workers. Through a combination of assistance, support for strikes, bail money for arrested picketers, legal representation, and pressure, the outfit gains influence over union operations. More importantly, they gain access to pension funds. By the 1940s, the outfit has mechanisms to use Teamsters' pension money. They make loans, often to themselves through intermediaries and front companies that finance expansion into new territories and new rackets. The loans are structured to appear legitimate, but often go unpaid. The pension fund remains nominally solvent because new members keep joining, but it's being systematically drained. This model, union infiltration leading to pension fund access, becomes a template the outfit will use repeatedly. 1943. Federal agents raid outfit operations across Chicago as part of a massive Hollywood extortion case. The scheme involved forcing movie studios to hire unnecessary union workers through threats of strikes and labor disruptions. A classic Humphreys-style operation utilizing union leverage. The case results in multiple convictions, including Paul Ricca, who receives a 10-year sentence. But Humphreys isn't charged, not because he wasn't involved. Investigators believe he helped design the scheme, but because he left no direct evidence, no phone calls in his name, no signed contracts, no fingerprints. He operates through intermediaries. His instructions are verbal, delivered in person. He never writes anything down that could be used against him. When he must communicate through documents, he uses lawyers, everything protected by attorney-client privilege. The FBI, watching Humphreys closely by this point, is frustrated. They know he's running major operations, they have informants who describe his involvement. But they can't build a prosecutable case because Humphreys has perfected the art of criminal insulation. With Ricca in prison, Humphreys effectively becomes the outfit's operational leader alongside Tony Accardo. The division of labor is clear. Accardo handles enforcement and discipline. Humphreys handles corruption, politics, and unions. The post-World War II years. America enters an economic boom. The outfit enters its golden age. Humphreys, now in his late 40s, has spent a quarter-century building infrastructure for this moment. While other crime families still rely on traditional rackets, gambling, loan sharking, prostitution, the outfit has diversified into legitimate business sectors, political influence, and comprehensive labor control. His nickname, the Camel, is well established by this period, appearing consistently in FBI reports. The origin remains disputed. Some suggest it refers to his ability to carry heavy loads of criminal operations without breaking. Others claim it relates to his ability to operate for extended periods without visible resources, going long distances without water, so to speak. Physically, Humphreys is unremarkable. Medium height, slim build, well-dressed, but never flashy. He favors conservative suits and looks like an accountant or lawyer, which is precisely the point. He can walk into City Hall, a union office, or a corporate boardroom without attracting attention. His approach to corruption is methodical. He never raises his voice, never makes explicit threats. He identifies weaknesses, financial problems, career ambitions, family troubles, and offers solutions. The corruption happens gradually, almost imperceptibly, until the target is compromised without realizing how it happened. A phrase attributed to him captures his philosophy. Why kill a man when you can buy him? Dead men can't do you favors. The late 1940s and 1950s see systematic expansion of outfit influence. In Chicago, the outfit tightens control over restaurants, entertainment venues, and service industries through union leverage. Any establishment that refuses to cooperate faces labor problems, health inspections, liquor license violations. In Las Vegas, Humphreys helps establish the outfit's foothold in the emerging casino industry. When major casinos open in the late 1940s and early 1950s, the outfit is already planning its own operations. Humphreys works with associates to identify opportunities, corrupt regulators, and establish shell companies for ownership. The structure is carefully designed. Organized crime figures never appear on casino licenses. Instead, the outfit uses frontmen, seemingly legitimate businessmen with clean records, who hold the licenses while the outfit takes its cut through consulting agreements, construction contracts, and skimmed profits. In unions, Humphreys' influence spreads beyond the Teamsters. He cultivates relationships with leaders in the Hotel and Restaurant Employees Union, the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees IATSE, and various construction unions. Each union provides different opportunities: pension fund access, strike leverage, control over employers, political influence through campaign contributions. 1950. The Kefauver Committee, officially the Senate Special Committee to investigate crime in interstate commerce, begins hearings. Senator Estes Kefauver's investigation into organized crime becomes a national sensation, televised to millions of Americans. Hundreds of witnesses testify. The hearings expose the depth of organized crime's penetration into American society. Murray Humphreys is called to testify on November 1st, 1950. He appears impeccably dressed, calm, accompanied by his attorney. When questioned about his occupation, he identifies himself as working in public relations and labor relations, helping resolve disputes between unions and management. The committee has detailed information about his criminal background, his outfit associations, his role in numerous illegal operations. But Humphreys invokes the Fifth Amendment repeatedly, more than 60 times according to committee records. The committee can't touch him. He admits nothing, provides no useful testimony, leaves without facing charges. But the Kefauver hearings change the landscape. Federal law enforcement begins coordinating organized crime investigations nationally. The FBI, previously focused on bank robbery and kidnapping, creates specialized organized crime units. Wiretapping technology improves, and its use expands. Humphreys adapts. His communications become even more careful. He uses payphones, varies meeting locations constantly, and employs counter-surveillance techniques. The mid-1950s, the outfit is extraordinarily profitable. Chicago gambling operations, illegal but protected through political corruption, generate millions annually. Las Vegas investments, including the outfit's involvement in the Stardust and other properties, produce rivers of cash through skimming operations. Labor racketeering provides steady income and political leverage. Infiltrated legitimate businesses provide both profit and cover. Humphreys is at the height of his power and influence. He maintains residences in Chicago and California. He travels to Las Vegas, Miami, and Los Angeles. He socializes with celebrities, politicians, and business leaders, most of whom have no idea, or pretend not to know, his real occupation. But a problem is emerging: Sam Giancana. Giancana is a classic Chicago street criminal. Violent, ambitious, charismatic, and increasingly reckless. He's risen through the outfit ranks as an enforcer and organizer. By the mid-1950s, he's positioning himself as a leader, eventually becoming the public face of the outfit. The tension between Humphreys' approach and Giancana's is philosophical. Humphreys built a system designed to operate invisibly. Giancana craves recognition and celebrity. Humphreys believes in patience and long-term strategy. Giancana wants immediate results and visible displays of power. Initially, senior outfit leaders like Accardo and Rica prefer Humphreys' methods. But Giancana delivers results. His operations are profitable. His enforcement of discipline is effective. The 1960 presidential election between John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon is extraordinarily close. Illinois, with its 27 electoral votes, is critical. Kennedy wins Illinois by less than 9,000 votes out of nearly 5 million cast. Allegations emerge then and since that the Chicago political machine manipulated votes in key precincts to deliver Illinois to Kennedy. Some accounts suggest outfit influence in the process, given the outfit's long-standing connections to Chicago political operations. Whether this occurred and to what extent remains debated by historians. The allegations are circumstantial. No definitive proof has emerged. What's documented is the extremely narrow margin in Illinois, and that Cook County's returns showed patterns that benefited Kennedy disproportionately. If the outfit played a role, Humphreys, given his decades of building political corruption networks, would likely have been involved in coordination. But no direct evidence exists, and FBI surveillance reports from the period, while noting increased meetings between Humphreys and political figures, don't definitively establish election manipulation. After Kennedy's victory, a myth develops, promoted particularly by Giancana, that the outfit's political power secured the presidency. Whether true or not, the myth doesn't protect the outfit from what comes next. Attorney General Robert Kennedy launches an unprecedented campaign against organized crime. The number of organized crime prosecutions increases dramatically. FBI surveillance intensifies. Grand juries multiply. Pressure increases across every outfit operation. The political protection Humphreys spent decades building begins to crack under sustained federal pressure. 1961 to 1963. According to information later revealed in congressional investigations during the 1970s, the CIA approached organized crime figures about participating in plots to assassinate Cuban leader Fidel Castro. The intermediaries included Robert Maheu, a former FBI agent and private investigator. The mobsters allegedly involved included Santo Trafficani Jr. and Sam Giancana. Humphreys' role, if any, remains unclear. He's not mentioned prominently in most historical accounts of the CIA mafia collaboration. Given his position in the outfit's hierarchy and his preference for remaining in the background, he likely knew about Giancana's activities but maintained distance and deniability. The assassination plots fail. Castro survives multiple attempts, and the relationship between the CIA and organized crime becomes a liability that contributes to devastating congressional scrutiny in later years. Meanwhile, Giancana's behavior becomes increasingly problematic from the outfit's perspective. He is photographed with celebrities. He dates singer Phyllis McGuire publicly. He attracts exactly the kind of attention Humphreys spent decades avoiding. The mid-1960s. FBI pressure has become suffocating. Electronic surveillance authorized under expanded legal authority captures thousands of hours of outfit conversations. Informants recruited through aggressive leverage and newly established witness protection programs provide insider information. Financial investigations trace money flows through shell companies and front organizations. The McClellan Committee, formerly the Senate Select Committee on Improper Activities in Labor and Management, conducts extensive hearings throughout the 1960s exposing union corruption. Humphreys' name appears repeatedly in testimony, linked to Teamsters operations, pension fund manipulation, and systematic labor racketeering. The outfit faces internal tensions as well. Giancana's high profile has made him a primary FBI target. There is growing sentiment among older outfit leaders, particularly Accardo, that Giancana's methods, however profitable, have attracted unsustainable attention. Humphreys finds himself navigating both external pressure from law enforcement and internal power struggles. His health is declining. Years of stress, heavy drinking, and constant pressure have caused heart problems, high blood pressure, and anxiety. Medical records will later confirm he had significant cardiovascular disease. His doctors warn him repeatedly. He largely ignores them. The outfit demands his attention. November 1965. Federal investigators are building their largest case yet, a comprehensive investigation into Teamsters pension fund manipulation, union kickbacks, and labor racketeering spanning multiple states. Murray Humphreys is a central target. The evidence being compiled is substantial. Surveillance recordings, financial records tracing money through shell companies, testimony from cooperating witnesses. The investigation involves coordination between the FBI, the Department of Justice, and the Department of Labor. Prosecutors believe they finally have enough to convict Humphreys and other senior outfit figures. Humphreys knows they're coming. His intelligence network, still functioning despite federal pressure, provides warnings. He knows about the grand jury proceedings, knows about the surveillance, knows his phone is tapped and his movements tracked. He meets with his attorney to discuss strategy. The options are limited and grim. Fight the charges and risk a lengthy prison sentence at age 66 with failing health, or consider cooperation. Unthinkable for someone who spent 45 years building the outfit's power. The stress is immense and constant. December 3rd, 1965, Murray Llewellyn Humphreys dies of acute coronary thrombosis, a heart attack. He's found in the bedroom of his home on South Normandy Avenue. The medical examiner determines death was from natural causes, consistent with his documented history of heart disease. The timing, as federal investigators prepare to indict him, raises immediate questions and spawns conspiracy theories. Did outfit members, fearing Humphreys might cooperate under pressure, arrange his death and disguise it as natural causes? Investigators find no evidence of foul play. Toxicology reports show nothing suspicious. Autopsy findings are consistent with natural cardiac death in a 66-year-old man with significant cardiovascular disease. The FBI investigation concludes it was natural causes. Most historians accept this conclusion. The timing, while remarkable, is not implausible. The immense stress of impending federal prosecution, combined with existing heart disease, provides a medically sound explanation. But questions persist because the timing is almost too convenient for everyone. Humphreys avoids prison and the pressure to testify. The outfit eliminates a potential liability without the risks associated with murder. Federal prosecutors lose their primary target and the institutional knowledge he possessed. The funeral is small and private, no public viewing, no dramatic processions, just family and a handful of close associates. The newspapers barely cover it. The Chicago Tribune runs a brief article identifying him as a reputed organized crime figure. No front-page headlines. No extensive obituaries analyzing his impact. He dies as he lived. Known to those who needed to know, invisible to everyone else. The federal investigation continues, resulting in multiple convictions of outfit associates over subsequent years. But without Humphreys, prosecutors lack the central figure who could explain the entire system. The cases proceed piecemeal, fragmentary. Sam Giancana, meanwhile, faces his own reckoning. Pressured to leave the country in the mid-1960s, he spends years in exile in Mexico. In 1974, he returns to Chicago. The following year, just days before he's scheduled to testify before a Senate committee investigating CIA mafia connections, he's murdered in his basement, shot multiple times. Unlike Humphreys' quiet death, Giancana's murder is spectacular, violent, and very public. The contrast is fitting. Two different philosophies of organized crime, two different outcomes. Today, Murray Humphreys' name barely registers in popular consciousness. Ask most Americans to name famous mobsters, and they'll mention Capone, Gotti, Luciano, Lansky, but not Humphreys. Yet his legacy is more profound than any of them. Al Capone built a criminal empire that collapsed within a decade of his imprisonment. The violence, the visibility, the ego. It all crumbled under federal pressure. By contrast, the organizational structure Humphreys designed lasted 60-plus years. The outfit remained powerful well into the 1990s, long after Capone was a historical footnote, precisely because Humphreys taught them how to operate invisibly. His innovations became standard practice for organized crime nationwide. The systematic corruption of political machines, not through crude bribery, but through symbiotic relationships that made crime and politics mutually dependent. The infiltration of labor unions, turning them into sources of both income and political power. The use of legitimate businesses as fronts, money laundering operations, and sources of legal cover. The principle that violence should be a last resort, not a first response. The creation of multi-layered organizational structures that insulated top leadership from prosecution. These weren't entirely Humphreys' inventions. Other criminals used similar tactics, but he systematized them, refined them, and demonstrated their effectiveness on an unprecedented scale over decades. Chicago's political culture still bears traces of his work. The connections between organized labor, political organizations, and urban governance that Humphreys exploited haven't disappeared. They've evolved. Similar dynamics, mutual dependency, patronage, money flows between unions and political campaigns, persist in forms that are now technically legal, but structurally reminiscent of what Humphreys built. The Teamsters, despite decades of federal oversight and reform efforts, remain powerful and politically connected. The pension fund abuses Humphreys pioneered led directly to the Employee Retirement Income Security Act, ERISA, of 1974, which established federal protections for pension funds specifically because of the corruption he and others orchestrated. Las Vegas, now a corporate gambling mecca, was built on foundations that Humphreys and the outfit helped establish. The first generation of major casinos required mob money and frontmen because legitimate financing wasn't available for gambling ventures. The transition from mob control to corporate ownership took decades. The FBI's modern organized crime investigation techniques follow the money, use electronic surveillance, build RICO cases against entire organizations, were developed largely in response to the structures Humphreys created. He forced law enforcement to become more sophisticated because crude police tactics couldn't penetrate what he built. So how should history judge Murray Humphreys? He was undeniably a criminal. His activities destroyed lives, corrupted institutions, and undermined democratic governance. The unions he infiltrated were robbed of their purpose, serving mobsters instead of workers. The pension funds he looted represented the stolen retirement security of thousands of working people. The politicians he corrupted betrayed their constituents. The businesses he controlled operated through fear rather than free competition. But he was also something rare in the criminal world, a genuine strategist. Not a thug who got lucky, not a violent psychopath who terrified people into submission. He was a man who understood systems, political systems, economic systems, legal systems, and figured out how to corrupt them from within. His fundamental insight was this: sustainable criminal power comes not from fear, but from making yourself indispensable. Don't threaten the police. Make them dependent on your information and payoffs. Don't destroy unions. Control them and use their legitimacy as cover. Don't fight the political machine. Become part of it so completely that removing you would damage the machine itself. This is why he succeeded where flashier, more violent criminals failed. Capone terrified people, but terror breeds resentment and resistance. Humphreys corrupted people, which breeds dependency and complicity. Corruption properly executed makes the corrupted party complicit in protecting the corrupter. FBI surveillance photographs from the 1950s show Humphreys walking on Michigan Avenue in downtown Chicago, wearing conservative suits, blending into crowds of businessmen and shoppers. He's indistinguishable from them, just another middle-aged man going about his business. That image defines him. Invisible, unremarkable, and yet in those moments wielding more actual power over the city than most elected officials. He understood something that most criminals never learn. Real power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need headlines or notoriety. It works quietly, moving through the machinery of society invisibly, embedding itself so deeply that removing it would damage the host. In a bedroom on South Normandy Avenue, an architect of American organized crime died alone. No dramatic last stand, no shootout with federal agents, no climactic courtroom testimony. Just a man with a failing heart, lying still, his empire continuing to function without him. Outside, dawn broke over Chicago, the city he spent a lifetime corrupting and controlling. And somewhere in City Hall, in a union office, in a judge's chambers, in back rooms across the country, the systems he built continued operating exactly as he designed them. Quietly, efficiently, invisibly. The man was gone. The machine remained. That was always the point.